morning. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for this opportunity to share. My name is Reverend Darryl Winston. I am the director for Save Our City Coalition, also a part of interfaith group of activists, clergy, who've been working unstintingly over the past several months, several years, to address concerns around the disinherited, the disenfranchised, and the dispossessed. We're here today to declare war on poverty. We are here today to speak out against poverty in the city of Atlanta. For too long, Atlanta has been billed as the city too busy to hate. However, in reality, it looks more like the city too callous to care. That is to say, we've allowed widespread decay, wholesale decay to linger, and many of us have gone from campaign to campaign to campaign with just a surface approach or empty rhetoric toward the poor and underserved. And so here we are again in the midst of a hotly contested mayoral race, upcoming gubernatorial race. And what we're saying is that in a city that is filled with resources, talented, gifted people, Atlanta cannot burn again. If we don't do something about the poverty in this city, about the chasm between the haves and the have-not, Atlanta will burn again. Atlanta is a powder keg, what we saw last year. And we're treating the pandemic and the uprising last year as if it was a commercial break. And now we can get back to our regular schedule program where greed is promoted and indifference is tolerated. But we stand today saying this must end and we must fight. We're fighting from a place of victory because we're standing on the shoulders of Hosea Williams, C.T. Martin, C.T. Vivian, Q.V. Williamson, and so many others who labored in this city, Maynard Jackson, of course, who in 1974 created the MPUs and made it so that the people will have a voice. Where are we today? We are bowing down to the corporate juggernauts, and we are worshiping at the altars of corporate interests. And somebody needs to stand against it. Somebody needs to fight against it. Somebody needs to speak against it, because for too long, we've allowed our brothers and sisters, the elderly, the seniors, the poor, the children, to live in want, and we have denied services, yet we promote that Atlanta is a progressive place. And so that's why we're here today. And I have those who are standing with me, Bishop Carl McCraig Zucia, we have Pastor Keith Hammond of New Generation, we have Graham Younger of Faith and Public Life, and you will hear from them. And I just wanted to come today as we have been working without stint behind the scenes, seeking to provide resolution. But we come today with a 10-point plan. 10-point plan that is not, again, the ceiling, it's the starting point for us to provide workable solutions and surround Atlanta with life-bringing principles and practices that will promote revitalization and wholeness for all of its citizens, not just for some.
Good morning. We want to thank you, members of the media, for being with us today and for hearing our concerns. We have been bearing witness to a shift in what is happening here in this city when the homeless population has increased so significantly, and there has been no real tangible plan by any of the political leaders, those that are aspiring for public office, to do anything about it. Everybody has got a comment about crime. Yeah, we recognize crime is a problem in this city, as is it in every other major city of this country. crime is a product of the poverty that's in each one of these cities, and not one of the candidates have been meaningful in their engagement of what real solutions can be for addressing the issues of the poor, the marginalized, people with disabilities, and certainly the homeless populations. We saw in previous administration not only a turning away, turning our hearts away from homeless people, but actually disdain for them. And we've seen them being pushed around, homeless centers, task force being shut down. It's unacceptable. We cannot be the city too busy to hate when we hate our poorest people.
Yes, sir.
And so we're here to call on you to pay attention to this plank that this coalition of ministry gifts and advocates, activists, have put together to bring to the attention of the powers that be, and particularly those who are seeking public office, to address these concerns. We are not going to back down. We're going to be relentless in holding you accountable and asking for your plan, and hopes that you will embrace components of our plan to address the homeless issue here in this city. It's major, it's serious, and it's unacceptable. And we are calling on all like-minded people to form deals in the public and not in the private.
Yes, sir.
To do things that are going to build up this community that we know we're facing every time we walk through this city. And we thank you all for being out here today, and we're willing to embrace any of your questions or concerns, and for being here today. We thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I am Pastor Keith Hammond of New Generation Baptist Church in historic South Atlanta. Just echoing off of everything that was said. We're in a city that said is too busy to hate. It needs to be a comma and a colon, and with an exception of those who are poor, who are marginalized, who are disenfranchised, those who are displaced, those who are homeless, those who have mental issues. In this plan, we want to assist the city in healing. After last summer, there was no resolution after the events that happened during the protests. It was left hanging. No real resolution has come forward. I've heard one candidate talk about adding 250 officers, adding more police. We need police, let me just phrase that, but adding police don't fix crime. Police officers most of the time show up after the crime is already committed. The 10-point plan will address in ways to assist in this process. If we're talking about crime and violent crimes, it's bigger than the city of Atlanta. It's a nationwide crisis, but in the state of Georgia, it all started with the lackadaisical gun laws that the former governor passed, Nathan Deal. And so the atmosphere was created for a Wild Wild West mentality, which was spoken the minute those gun laws passed. So there's some real issues in this city. As I always said, it's a tale of two cities. But too often we pay attention and the resources go to one of those cities and leave the other ones behind.
Yes, sir.
Until we address the housing crisis, affordable housing is not $400,000 in the city. As a comedian once said, how do you feel to work in a city that you cannot afford to live in, or go in a hospital that you cannot afford to get sick in? That's where we are now. Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Graham Younger. I'm the Georgia Director for Faith and Public Life Action. And I'm grateful to be here today to talk about poverty because we don't. We don't talk about it, and it's often not as fun an issue to talk about as some of the others in which there's an opposition and there's a way to feel superior to other people on a political issue. And that's not the case with many aspects of poverty, because a lot of the laws that exist that keep our city and our state in a perpetual state of poverty are also the ones that benefit us. So I'm grateful here that we are trying to care about this, and that there is a 10-point plan here that I'm reading that have concrete ideas as to how our city can get better. And I'd like the voting public in particular to think about the issues that are most important to them. I've seen many polls that say crime is the most important issue to the public in this election. My question to you would be, what would our crime rate look like if poverty was truly addressed in this city?
That's right.
Ask yourselves that question, and then ask yourselves who you want to be voting for. So I'd like all our mayoral candidates to take a look at this 10-point plan that has been prepared, that has been thoughtfully researched, and to comment on it, to commit to parts of it, and to discuss if there are parts of this plan that you don't want to commit to, why not? What is the reasoning for not adopting these sorts of common sense solutions to making our state a better place for all of its citizens and making our city a better place for all of its residents? Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Brenda Smith, and I represent Peace and Global Witness, a Presbyterian partnership here in the city of Atlanta. We're here today to represent the 10-point plan and the ways in which it can change the face of Atlanta for all of Atlantans. We're standing across the street from homeless, people who have been on the streets all night long, and we're asking what can we do to change that. We're asking our proposed elected officials, what can we do to change the face of Atlanta, where all persons here have a home, have a means to live, have a suitable housing and living and food situation here in Atlanta, which has not been for some time. The 10-point plan addresses that. It addresses that from a holistic standpoint. It looks at crime, but it looks at housing, it looks at education, it looks at mental health, the issues that affect any and all Americans here in Atlanta. How do we begin to address that? Seriously address that. Not from the standpoint of what is politically correct, but what will be beneficial to that 10, 20 years from now, Atlanta will look reasonable and meaningful for all persons. This is a city that has a historical history. It should not be that I am looking across the street and see the homeless here. Not in Atlanta. This is not what King and others worked so hard for, that gave their lives for. So how do we change that now? When we have so much plenty, so much money, so much riches, so much opportunity. But for the least, we ought to be able to give something for the least and raise them up so that they too can have an opportunity to see what is beneficial and what is giving in the city of Atlanta. Thank you.
The 10-point plan, number one, to visibly reduce blighted poverty within Southside Atlanta by ensuring statistical increase 35%, the number of affordable housing units, namely areas such as Jonesboro Road, Greenbrier, southeast, southwest, parts of northwest, particularly in what has been variously called the legacy area. Number two, institute tax homestead rebate, utility exemptions for longtime Atlanta residents, Southside communities on or before May 1st, 2022. To prioritize home repair, rehabilitation, physical projects for lifetime homeowners within the South Side and Southeast, Southwest on or before July 1st, 2022. Number four, to create an area map of the homeless in Atlanta in order to comprehensively address this population grave housing issues, particularly in terms of homeless women and children and veterans. Number five, to provide permanent housing for Northwest, Southside, Atlanta low and middle income communities on or before October 2022. Number six, to establish citywide faith-based life crisis center or family crisis center aimed at addressing the mental health crisis along with several other crises that we find in the city on or before November the 1st, 2022, to address the lack of metro food industry in Northwest and Southside Atlanta by January 2023, to establish centralized child care centers in Southside Atlanta by February 2023. Number nine, to establish technology hub, business incubators, platforms for entrepreneurial collaboration with Georgia Tech and Microsoft Atlanta by January 2023, in addition to establish STEAM Academy throughout Southside and Northwest Atlanta, number 10, to introduce citywide rental control policies by January 2023, and there are others to include reducing crime in vulnerable communities by reinstituting police on the beat, or what we like to call block control or street control, and there are others. And so this is a starting point. And as has been mentioned before, we welcome the leadership in the city and even the business community to join us. We recognize that there are those who have been speaking for. Any number of studies and researches have been conducted. Georgia Tech just did a study on the MPU calling for overhaul of the zoning. The Brookings Institute have done any number of studies, but we're concerned that these studies, and many of whom have national credence, falling on deaf ears. Why is it that the leadership of this city continues to be deaf when it comes to hearing the cry of the suffering masses in the city and turning a blind eye consistently to the blighted condition? Thank you.